What's up, everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to the Punk Rock Review Podcast. I got a real special guest today. We got Dylan Disaster from Dylan Disaster and the Revelry hanging out, man. This is the homie now, dude. We've become friends over the past couple of months, and we're sort of working together right now, doing some things, and nothing else, man. You got good music he's putting out, so we wanted to hang out and talk about some of the new things you're doing. So yeah, we literally just got on here. So what's up, dude? How's your day going, man?
It's going good, man. I like to have productive early afternoons and mornings. So been productive and ready to do this. Thanks for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to see you.
Hell yeah, man. This is, and the cool part is that this one should be on Spotify at the same time that's on YouTube now. So I'm linking that stuff up, dude. I'm like really putting my best foot forward here with this thing, man. But yeah, I don't get up early, but when I get up, I usually get moving, and I get up at like 9:30, and I guess to some people that's early. To me, it's not that early. But yeah, I already went to the grocery store today. I already walked the dog. I got doing this, and then I'm going to get the kids from the bus stop. Yeah, up until like 5, I'm usually like just running. I'm doing so much stuff. So
yeah, I'm the same way, man. I get up at like 8, and I usually have pretty busy mornings all the way up to like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'm doing shit, and then it's like lunchtime or whatever. But yeah,
that's good though, man. Trying to be like efficient with your time is an art that when we're young, we just simply aren't good at it. Like we wake up and we dick around for 2 hours. And back then we didn't even have smartphones, bro. Imagine if we had smartphones when we were like 20, dude. We wouldn't have done nothing.
That would have been awful. I'm grateful we were not part of that generation for sure.
Man, I'm sincerely, like, for real. I'm doing a podcast tomorrow night with my normal co-host Rob, and we're talking about the Circle Jerks because they're coming to town soon. Cool. And I've always liked the band's music. I've never been a huge fan, but I've always liked it, right? I've seen them play a couple times. So, but in preparation for this podcast, I'm doing all this research, man. It's interesting, the stuff that we're doing now that just, and like, I don't know, 20 years ago, even, not even 20 or 15 years ago, but even like 25 years ago was even harder than it was 15. Just how touring is done, man. So, let's talk about your music though, before I get like one of my ADHD like rants about something else. So, okay, you did your album. It's recorded. It's at the pressing plant getting made right now, right?
Yes, sir. I was just talking to my sales rep today. We should have test pressings in like a week or two. Artwork's finalized, and the whole thing is like, it's in production right now.
That's exciting, man. I'm doing some things too. I'll talk to you about later in the day. It's not really what this episode's for. Okay, so what's the okay? Tell me about the album. What's the album about? What's the title of the record? How many tracks? What's the length of the record? Let everybody know what's going on with this album.
Sure. It's called All Roads. It's about 45 minutes long, I think. It's 12 songs. And the album is it's thematic. I think I talked about it recently. I've talked about it often actually, but like usually when I write a record, it's very thematic. It's not like a concept album or anything, but there is like a theme that kind of ties everything together. And that's definitely the case with this record too. Originally, like the album was going to be called All Roads End because I had written a song called All Roads End, and it felt a little cynical. And like the only reason I moved away from that idea was because it was a natural progression, like just the way the songs got written, and then it just felt like that wasn't the right title for it. And we dropped the word ends, and it just felt better. And basically, the theme is just like, I mean, it's about possibilities. It's about where we've been and where we're going, you know? And that's what each song on the record kind of expresses, either a place that I've been in my life or a place I'm going, or the road that I'm on currently.
Yeah, that's the more I get to know you, the more I like the record, honestly. So I'm hoping that is something that translates to talking to you and having you on, even, the next time, which I assume will happen at some point, that if people, that's what I like about doing this as a thing, is that I'm learning about musicians that I just admire and look up to, as in like the Circle Jerks guys. Okay. I'm meeting people like you and Chris, who I've already listened to in the past. I mean, I listened to your music before I knew you because you were in Nowhere Bound, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So I've been a fan of your music for a hot minute now. And so it's really cool to get to meet people and learn about them it's interesting. The one thing I've figured out that by watching documentaries and then talking to you guys is that the more you get to know somebody, the more you'll appreciate their music. Now, whether it's your particular cup of tea or not is almost irrelevant, but you'll appreciate it in a way you didn't before. I was never a fan of the Descendants until last week.
Yeah.
Straight up. Last week, I was doing that podcast and I watched a bunch of documentaries, and I watched one specific one about that band and just learned a bunch about Milo and was like, man, he reminds me of my kid, kind of like when he was real young. And so I had this like appreciation now that I didn't used to have. I think that's pretty important.
Absolutely, man. I'm definitely the same way. Like I read that No Effects book, Hepatitis Bathtub,
Bro!
and like honestly, I know it's like sacrilege as a punk rocker not really be a fan of No Effects, but I was never really a fan of No Effects. And then I read that book, and I was like, oh, okay, I at least understand the guys, and I like appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
That's happened a lot. Like I read Laura Jane Grace's book, Tranny, which is a phenomenal book. I read Bruce Springsteen's book, Born to Run, which is an awesome book. And like, you're just the more you know a musician, an artist, the easier it is to relate to their music. And it just, I don't know, it reels me in. Even like podcasts too. Like if I listen to someone doing a podcast interview and they're just open and honest, talking about their music and who they are, it makes me want to listen to their music more.
I 100% agree. And back in the day, it used to be harder. So I think we've kind of moved away from getting to know our artists, because back when we were younger, I feel like you'll agree with this. I used to search every single bookstore, every newsstand. It didn't matter what magazine it was. If it had a picture of or a little word of a band that I even remotely knew or liked, I was like, let me buy that and read it. And then, I mean, I've got magazines over here. I've got an alternative press with Rancid sitting over here from like, that's got to be 20 something years old. And that was like, that's how I got to know these bands. I find it interesting. Actually, this is a good question. A very good segue for this question. A lot of times I'll have people that tell me, hey, I have this artist. I want you to look at them. It was much more a prevalent thing on the other channel when I was doing a lot of hip hop content. I didn't know those artists very well. Hey, can you check out this artist for me? And I don't want to throw anybody's name out there, but there was particular artists where I would be like, oh man, I don't really like that person. I watched some interviews with them and like maybe a documentary of sorts or whatever. And I just really didn't like the way that they were behaving. And it really puts a bad taste in my mouth. Therefore, the music just isn't really for me. It's objectively well made. Other than that, I don't really care for it. And I always heard, yeah, man, well, I can just separate the art from the artist. I think that's bullshit, man. I don't think people separate the art from the artist. I think people just don't care when their favorite artists are behaving poorly. Yeah. And that's what I like about our scene, is that we do have this ability to talk to each other, get to know each other, and it creates a strength. Anyways, what is your opinion on that?
I mean, I agree. If, like I said, if I'm listening to somebody on a podcast or something and I genuinely just like the person, I'll be more inclined to listen to the music. If I genuinely don't like what they're saying and how they conduct themselves, I'm not even going to give it a shot. Like I'm just not interested. But I mean, in the same respect, like, what do you do with like a situation where like you've listened to somebody's music your whole life, and then all of a sudden like they do something shitty, and like, you know, now you're not supposed to be a fan of them anymore, like Michael Jackson, for example. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, I think that's when people say like they can separate the art from the artist, because I mean, you don't really get to know Michael Jackson anyway. He's on such a grand scale, right? But like in that kind of situation, he's got this back catalog that people listen to for decades. How do you just like, I can't listen to that music ever again, you know?
I have a really good response to that, because that's happened. Because I grew up on Anti-Flag. And I literally don't listen to their music anymore. It's gone. I think I have a CD that it was a gift and I don't want to get rid of it for that reason. But I probably should. I should probably trash it. I threw away the other ones. I got rid of their stuff in my shop. I don't cover their stuff on my channel. I took down the 2 videos I had with them in it. It sucked. It really, really hurt, actually. Like, it was actually like physically painful. But you got to stand on the things that you say. If you say some stuff in public and you go, hey, man, I don't support people that behave this way, and then somebody that you're friends with or somebody that you look up to behaves that way, you have to have the courage to go, oh man, well, I guess I can't be your friend anymore. And I did did give them the benefit of the doubt to begin with, which is another thing that I think is hard to do, is to stand up and go, well, we don't actually know everything. But when I got enough information, I was like, oh man, at this point, it's a hard stop, dude. I've heard enough. I don't need to be told anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things where people are, it's a selfish thing. You know, you're like, oh, I want to keep listening to this music. But dude, there's plenty of music out there. Like,
It's true.
you know, if somebody's doing, you know, abuse stuff to people, like I can't, I don't know, man. Like, and look,
I understand. That's why I asked. I'm just like,
yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty much the same way. Like, you know, I use Michael Jackson as an example because it's such a grand scale, and he's
well,
so like in the zeitgeist of everything. Like, you can't really remove him from life, you know. But like,
he's a
something
pretty great
smaller
example.
like Anti-Flag makes sense though.
But like Michael Jackson's a good one too, though, because that is also, he was like, I've gotten to know a lot about that guy, and I think he was a pretty crummy person. He was mean to his dancers. He was real. He had a lot of like he was competitive to a degree that was, I thought, gross. Right? He did stuff to like Prince that I was like, what? Like I heard this stuff from people that were there, and I'm like in interviews and podcasts and documentaries, and I was just like, the more I get to know that guy, it ain't got nothing to do with the kid stuff. I don't know, man. I think it's pretty suspicious, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
But like, I don't know, but I do know this other stuff happened, and I'm like, oh man. So anybody that would do stuff that I think is wild like this, there's no telling what else they might do. So I don't personally have anything to do with that guy's music either. But it's weird though, because you're a normal person, they don't even think about it. I think that's really what it boils down to: is, are you even thinking about it? I mean, probably not. Like,
yeah.
You know, and I'm not judging nobody. You want to listen to Michael Jackson, bro? Go ahead. You want to listen? And I feel like, I don't give a shit. This is talking about my personal taste on the matter. Like,
yeah,
I
mean,
it's
like a conversation that happens all the time, just because it seems so common these days, you know.
Unfortunately, yeah, that sucks. Okay, with your record, are you guys trying to tour the U.S., do a Southern thing, West Coast, East Coast, European? What's the plans for the next, say, 12 months with Dylan Disaster and Revelry?
Yeah, we're definitely doing some tours, and we do have like the next like probably to the end of the year, like kind of planned out. We're gonna do like a little weekender here for our album release at the end of May, and then we're gonna do probably like 3 days of the weekend afterwards, like another little Texas run. We might do like an East Coast tour in July. The only thing that we have like solidly booked, we're going to Japan at the beginning of September.
Yes,
it's really
bro.
exciting. Yeah,
that's awesome. Like,
yeah,
that
man,
gets me geeked out, man.
That's been a goal of mine for a long time. We had a tour booked in 2020. I think I told you this before, Japan, but obviously nobody did anything in 2020. So like ever since then, I've been like, we're making this happen this time around. So yeah, we're going to Japan in September, and then we might also do. We're talking about doing Europe in November as well.
Nice. Yeah. 2020 put a lot of bands in weird places, man. I can't imagine being like a new project that was maybe had some money put into it or something. And I mean, like, and that would include you guys. Anything Chris and them were doing, like whatever, man. Nowhere Bound stuff came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, I put out my last record, Remission, like at the end of 2019, and it was the same time that the last record came out, the last Nowhere Bound record, Morning Glory, came out. Both of those records were like huge undertakings for each of us, and yeah, I mean, we were just another one of those bands that like just put out a record and had all these plans, and like nothing could happen. So
yeah, only way I can relate to that is that I had a comic book shop, and when that stuff happened, we were forced to close because of it. So I feel like I kind of can relate to a certain degree, because I had a whole lot of money and a 5-year lease, like all this stuff happened, and I was like, oh, I can't do any of this. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do right now. I mean, it was scary.
Yeah, I bet.
So how many people? I have a question, and then I have like a comment as well. So how many people have you shown this record in its entirety to? Because I've heard it a couple times.
Not too many.
Okay.
I had sent it to Clink. I sent it to some friends that like whose opinions I respect and appreciate.
Sure.
Just to get some feedback, and also like I had some questions about our mix that I needed to like confirm because I listened to it 17,000 times and I needed some fresh ears on it.
Right?
So I
No,
like
that
sent
dude,
it to
that
some trusted people, but like I don't know, man, maybe a dozen at most.
nice.
Yeah,
Positive feedback, I assume, huh?
nothing but positive feedback. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was hoping with some kind of like pushback, but I didn't get any.
man. Yeah, dude, I honestly tried to come up with some like positive criticisms that might be like help. Bro, I was just geeked out listening to it. My only thing is that my personal opinion is that I like short albums.
Mm,
Outside of that, like I don't have anything to say about it other than positive stuff. But I've looked at the artwork a bunch. Just looking at it, and I'm like, looked at it. I've listened to it a few times, and like your vocals were different than I was expecting. So like, is that mine or yours?
I think it's fake.
Oh man, there's a yeah, that was just coming through my phone too. It's a Amber Alert, huh? Yo, that was wild. Okay, sorry, that was weird. Anyways, um, when I first was listening to it, I kept thinking of like Born to Lose and even Generation Exit, but I was like, man, the vocals are so different, and I was like the lyrical style is similar, the guitar playing is similar. Like I can see how you'd be a good tour together or a good show lineup. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
You know what I started thinking though is like artistically, visually, and audio. It was like a really great amalgamation of Far From Finished and like the Bouncing Souls. I don't know if
Okay.
that's anything that you like. I hope that's good news to you, but like
Sure.
it just to me was like I think that's the feel I was getting from all of it as a package, man. I really think that because I didn't have the artwork in front of me until you were like, "Hey, it's done. Check it out." Bam, this is our mock-up. I was like, "Oh, dang! I didn't know what to expect." So it has like a it doesn't it's not like cheap looking, if that makes any sense. Like it looks extremely cared for. It
I
looks
mean, it is, man. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we put so much time and effort and money into like making a record sound good, and like I've said before, I like a cohesive piece. So like
Right.
that includes the way it looks. I mean, I remember growing up and listening to like CDs and like looking at the artwork and reading the lyrics while I was listening to music, and like that's what I like. So that's what I want to create. So
Absolutely.
artwork is super important to me. I have like it's artwork's hard for me because like I can't like draw or anything, and sometimes I feel like my ideas are kind of cheesy when I do like artwork. But like I could sketch like something out really shitty and send it to my guy and be like, "Can you make this cool?" And then like he'll send some shit back. And I I'm fortunate enough to know some really talented graphic designers.
Well, it's I'm looking at it right now, just like the cover art, and the cover art specifically feels like three different groups. And I hope people that see this album in like the punk rock section will see this and understand what this is telling me. It says Bruce Springsteen, Gaslight Anthem, and Bouncing Souls as far as the cover work. And it's like, yeah, and so like if people that like those bands can get their hands on this or those artists, whatever, uh boy, I think you'll have some very happy
Yeah,
customers, man. I really do think that there's those artists have a style of storytelling that you kind of fall in line with. It's a little more even more my style. It's even a little more faster, a little more punk rock than some of that stuff. But I mean, yeah,
I
I think it's a
appreciate
good
that,
thing.
man. Yeah, I think well, I'll say two things. One, I do think that the album artwork needs to also represent the way it sounds, and I think that that's important to me as well. And I think we nailed that with this artwork. Um, and then as far as
Agreed.
being compared to those artists, I mean, I completely take that as a compliment. Um, I think you know being a musician and being in a band is really about finding your niche and finding your people. And I think those are my kind of people. Like I think I've struggled with that over the years. Like I felt like I was in hardcore bands and pop punk bands, and like all this other stuff. But like I'm kind of in a place right now with myself on a personal level and also with music that like I just know myself well and I know the direction and the kind of and I know my kind of people. And I think that this record speaks to that very well.
I would agree with that. I think that it's packaged really well. I'm excited to see one in person.
Oh, me
To
too.
play
I can't wait.
bro. I'm sure. I want to play it on the record, on the turntable here. And Clint gave me some like super upgraded speakers, so I've been listening to hell
I
of
bet
music,
he did.
bro. He's like, "Hey man, I don't have nowhere to put these. You want them?" I'm like, "Yeah, take those." I was like, "Let me know when you want these back. They'll be ready to come home with you." But like, he's like, "Dude,
Hell
I'm not
yeah.
going to use them." I'm like, "Well, I'll keep my old ones just in case. Like, it's all
Nice.
good, bro."
Yeah,
Um,
I knew he got an upgrade to his system. I'm like, somebody's reaping the benefits of that.
he's freaking amazing, man. So it was really, I was not expecting that at all. But I got him home, and I honestly wasn't sure what to expect. I plugged him in, and I told my wife, I was like, "Get in here, you got to hear this." And I was going from like left channel to right channel because I had one of each plugged in, and she was like, "Well, does one of them have like the subwoofer turned off?" And I was like, "No, it just sounds better." It was wild.
Yeah.
Anyways, like I can't
Awesome.
wait to spin that record in this room, man, and put some time in with it. Uh, yeah, I really like. It's funny because I like a lot of that music, and most people know that I listen to a lot of street punk stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you like Bruce Springsteen?" I'm like, "Well, I didn't used to love him, but the more I listened to like Gaslight stuff, the more I started listening to like offshoots of that, where
Sure.
they're that's like their favorite dude." And my favorite Springsteen record is Nebraska, and I think that's like a really hated album, which I don't really understand. Like that
Mm.
record's so good, but
Man, I was kind of the same way with Bruce Springsteen. Like, there's a couple songs that I really like, um, and then like you said, uh, following other like solo artists, and they all like Bruce Springsteen. So like, I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and then like I said earlier, I read his book, and that book is just like that book just speaks to me, man. It's like he the way he talks about writing music and the why he does it and how he writes albums and the way he lives his life was so relatable to me. I'm like, man, I felt like I was just like Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, that's pretty cool. Bruce Springsteen and I think the same. So like it really resonated with me. And then I got more into his music because of that.
I wish more people would take that experience and then create art with it, because I feel like a lot of people will read books like that, and I've done it. This is why I create stuff on YouTube, because this is what I feel like I'm pretty good at. And so I thought, okay, well, let me find my lane and then use that inspiration to create what I want to create, which is these little mini docs, these podcasts, these music reviews and such. And in my label, whatever. But a lot of people will read these books and they won't get that inspiration. They'll feel the same kinship, but then they'll just be like, all right, let me go back to my 9 to 5 and punch in
Yeah,
and be miserable. I wish it takes a certain amount of courage to do the stuff that you're doing, man. I'm glad you're doing it.
I
I think
appreciate
there's
that, man. Thank you. Uh,
absolutely.
I was definitely inspired by that book. It gave me like, what's the word? I guess, uh, credence. I don't know if that's the right word. Gave me freedom to kind of just like do whatever I want and not really care. Because like I sometimes I felt like my music was too soft. When you're younger, you just want everything to be like punk rock and aggressive.
Yep.
And like listening to that book, or reading that book, and listening to Bruce Springsteen gave me like the freedom to be softer and like kind of just express myself in different ways if I felt like it was necessary.
Yeah, I think as we age, we soften a little bit. Our corners start to get eroded. They're not so
Yeah,
sharp. They're a little more rounded, and we go from those sharp corners and that mohawk to that rounded stone with like the denim and the longer hair. Like it's just we age, we weather, we you're born to die, man. You born and you start eroding. But when we're like at that peak anger and testosterone filled 20-year-old, you're like rah rah rah. It does
yeah,
take
totally.
it takes some time to be comfortable with that. I remember I didn't even tell people some of the music I listened to because I was ashamed of it because it wasn't punk
Same,
enough. Yeah.
absolutely. I was definitely the same way, man. And like, yeah, just over the years, I just got softer. If before, just like loud drums and fast guitars and like screaming, like I didn't want it, or like I didn't really admit it, like I wanted it, like you
Right.
said. Now I've aged and I've experienced things, and I've experienced loss and love and heartbreak and grief and all these different things, and it just like doesn't matter anymore. I feel free to just be able to listen to whatever I want to, and
Right.
now I listen to fucking everything, which is great because there's so much. I get to listen to so much more music and enjoy things so much more because I'm not afraid to just dive into something just because I like it. There's no, I don't have to worry about other people's opinions about the music.
Once I got married, started having a family, and I was spending less time around my friends, I realized that my record collection started to speak for like me more so than them.
Yeah,
Because it used to represent my crew, and then
yeah,
now it represents me. And I think that's a pretty interesting
I
part of
like
this
that.
journey. Well, I mean, that's because that's how it was, man. When I was younger, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I liked all the music. I liked it. I didn't buy
Sure.
bands. I never got into metal because I never liked metal. All my friends love it. Dude, it
Yeah.
just wasn't for me. So I never did some stuff, you know, specifically for like the fact that my friends liked it. But it was hard to branch out of things sometimes. I got a lot of crap for a lot of the bands I used to listen to, and at a certain point in my like 20s, it really bothered me because I was the guy that always liked Rancid, always liked US Bombs, and always liked One Man Army. So like when those bands weren't cool for a while, bro, I was just getting mountains of crap from everybody, and it wore on me, man. So I'm glad to be at an age where I sincerely don't give a shit. Like I just like what I like, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes with our own aging, but I also think that the times have changed a bit and it's more accepting now too.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I agree. There's hardcore bands and punk bands putting out like covers of like deep cut pop songs. You're like, yo, what? Where'd this come
Yeah,
from? Like, oh
but
man, that's
that's such a
awesome.
good thing though, because if you're allowed to take more in, it gives you more inspiration to create, and you can create different kinds of things.
Dude, there's always going to be those 3 chord punk bands, and I'm always going to love them.
Yeah,
But bands like yours, bands like Against Me, Generation Exit, like these like intricate songwriter, singer songwriter, like storytelling, lifer bands, dude. Like that's the shit I'm really, really, really interested in hearing. Mainly because
yeah,
we're all kind of aging together. Because punk is so young, just in general, that like I'm only like a second or third generation from being at the beginning of it. Like I'm not far back. I'm 42, man. If I was 10 or 15 years older, I could be like, yeah, I was at that first show. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So, uh, it's kind of cool. So we're all kind of aging together. I think like in 30 more years, we're going to see some different stuff happening. But
Oh yeah,
punk was I mean, obviously, right, but punk was a different thing, and it every generation of punk has its own thing, and I think that's okay, man. I think, and it's also okay to not really like all of it. Some people are
sure.
like, oh, you have to like all this stuff. It's like, no, you really don't. What's less punk rock than being like, what's the list of bands I need to be a fan of? All right, check. Oh, I didn't know about these guys. Check. Let me go buy a shirt from Hot Topic. Like, and nothing wrong with buying a shirt from Hot Topic, but like, dude, that's weird. Like, just listen to.
I actually quite like where punk rock is right now. I think there's a lot of great stuff going on.
It's got a resurgence happening right now, man. Like, there's a lot of good hardcore right now. There's a lot of good punk rock. There's a lot of good rock and roll. A lot of good street rock stuff happening. There's a weird underground ska thing happening right now that I'm a big fan of. I like ska music, so
Ska is definitely popping up, man.
it's weird, isn't it? Like it's dude. Dude, see what happens when you start talking about ska? We start giggling and laughing, bro. Ska's a good
Totally.
thing, man. Ska's a good thing,
Out
bro.
have you checked out Kilograms?
No, what is this?
Check,
What is it?
check out Kilograms. Did Clink ever turn you on to Sammy K?
I
Sammy K
might.
is an acoustic artist. He's a solo artist. He's a super
Yes,
talented dude.
yeah.
He
Chris did
started
show me that.
like a ska reggae band with Mike McDermott from the Bouncing Souls. And
What?
they just put out like an EP. It's really really good.
And it's called Kilograms?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the Kilograms or Kilograms, but
I'm gonna write that down and
Kilograms.
write on my notebook so I'll lose it if it's on my
I
phone.
think it's like a 6-song EP. It's really good. Just came out, and I think they're on
Dude,
their second pressing of the EP, so you might want to snag one.
facts, bro. I will find one of those for my personal collection. I got a big giant box sitting here to my right from Revelation Records, and I'm very excited to like film a unboxing because it's mostly inventory for the shop, but I know for a fact that there's 2 things in there that are for me, and it's Suicide Machines LPs. It's Battle Hymns and Destruction of by Definition. They did a repress after like 20 years, and I was like, I need those, and I need that right now.
You bought a
Uh,
bunch of stuff from Revelation?
yeah, it's one of my main distributors that I get my inventory for the shop.
Okay. I wonder if that's the same record label I'm thinking of. It was
They used to be like a yellow
it,
square with an R and it's like
yeah,
a
yeah.
star. Yeah,
Um
Rev.
one
Did a
of
bunch
the
of like hate breed stuff, Madball.
yeah, and I think they did like the Movie Life too. Um
Oh, I think so actually.
they might have done some Movie Life stuff. Movie Life was like a huge band for me growing up because
Oh,
they're from Long
really?
Island. Yeah. Um
Nice.
yeah, I mean like I was like a teenager just starting to go to local shows, and the Movie Life was like the big local band on Long
That's
Island.
dope.
And so yeah, I think they were on Revelation.
So what are some of your favorite bands right now? What do you, what, if you were to go like just pick up a stack of records that are like in your most recently played box of shit, what's going to be like a handful of those titles?
Oh man, I don't even know, to be honest with you. What have I been listening? I've been listening to a band called the Hawaiians. They're
Okay.
from Germany. They're like this three-piece, or like they're like Ramones core basically from
Yeah.
Germany. It's really good, but it's like almost like surfer rock too.
Okay.
Um, I've also been listening to a band called the Skippers. I think I might have told you about them. You got to check out the Skippers, man.
Yeah, I recognize that name actually. I think you have told me about them.
They're from Japan. We're playing with them in Osaka, so I'm like, I met them a few years ago, and when I found out we were going to Japan, I hit them up. I was like, I want to play a show with you guys. They're just such a phenomenal band. They're just like, they're flawless, man. They're so good.
That's amazing.
I've been listening to that, and yeah, just a bunch of new stuff, really, man. Since we've been doing like promo for the record, I've been following a bunch of new bands and stuff on Instagram. There's like constantly new shit popping up on my
Yeah.
feed, and like I'm always checking out new stuff.
That's one of the biggest benefits to having social media, man. I love it.
Yeah, I just like wiped out all the bullshit from my Instagram and like just following bands. There was something else, like there's a hardcore band I was listening to recently too. I can't remember who they were called. I don't know. It's always something new, man.
There's 2 records. Actually, there's 3. I'll give you 3 records that have been in non-stop rotation for me. Outside of like label stuff, because I would consider your record label stuff for me at this point. So like your stuff, Generation Exit, even Poppers, Bullshit Detector. I'm always listening to that stuff because I don't put out stuff I don't like. So why would I? I don't understand that either, dude. I'm not putting out crap I don't like because I'm not trying to make this a. If I was trying to make money with it, I would be seeking out the bands that I thought could pop. But I think I like pretty good music, so I just put out shit that I like. Anyhow,
Totally.
There's a band called The Chisel. They have a new album out called What a Fucking Nightmare. And it's so good. Like, it might be the best record of the year so far for me. Like, I can't figure out how they wrote these songs. Like, I don't get it. Like, how did you write shit that sounds like it was produced and written in like 1985, but it still sounds like relevant, modern, and current? It's so good, man. But it's like, it's the opposite end of the spectrum from what you and Chris do. Y'all do like stuff that I consider kind of intricate, real like pretty almost. Like I like it because there's guitar shit there that I really like. I just really like gravelly vocals a lot too. So Chris's voice really is something I've been listening to for 20 something years. But like the Chisel and what was the other band? Lost Legion just put out an album last Friday called Behind the Concrete Veil. Dude, another one, man. I think it's just 2 dudes writing and recording all of it, and then they get buddies to help them play live. But they're from Chicago. They don't really play a lot of shows. They don't tour anything right now. But their shit sold out in like minutes, bro. I was so lucky to get a copy. I couldn't believe that I bought it, and then like I refreshed the page and it's like sold. I was like, oh damn! And I'll check my thing, make sure I got a confirmation. I was like, okay, cool, I'm getting one. But yeah, man, there's a lot of good stuff happening right now. A lot of good. The internet has some good qualities. I think it's overall it's pretty gnarly place, but I think it's you know, if you're smart, you can use it to your benefit.
If you're smart and you're disciplined,
right?
You don't let yourself fall down rabbit holes. Then yeah, you can use the algorithm to your advantage and find some cool shit.
I'm learning that, man. I'm learning how to do it. I'm old, dude. So it's like, you'd think by 4 years of me doing this shit, I'd be a little better at it, but I'm just a hard worker. That's where my success has come from. It has been very little luck. Although I had a video pop off and get like 3.4 million views on TikTok. I thought that was kind of crazy because that's like actual viral. And I was like, whoa. Like, I didn't expect this when it happened. It was like, I couldn't quit laughing about it because I was like, when it hit like 50,000 views, I thought that was about its ceiling, bro. It just kept going and going, and it was blowing my mind. But so okay, when you were doing the record, were you in charge of all of the writing, or did you have some? How was the record written? Who did all the? I know you did all the skeletons of the songs, right?
Yeah, I wrote everything.
Okay, so you did write everything.
Yeah, I wrote the drums. I'd say like 85 to 90% of the lead guitar.
Damn.
Yeah, because like once we had like lead guitar players in and out of the band, but I was always writing for this stuff. And then like maybe the last like by the time we were writing like the last 4 songs, Will had become like our lead guitar player, and he was comfortable with us. And then him and I kind of started writing together. So there's like 4 songs that maybe 3 or 4 songs that he wrote all the leads for, and then like he tweaked some things here and there for some of the stuff that I wrote. Um, but I wrote the drums on a drum machine too, and then like I showed my drummer, and then he made his own like little adjustments, and we worked some stuff out. But I
Okay,
wrote everything, man. I wrote all the lyrics. I wrote structures.
dude,
Um,
that's
the guys
awesome.
helped me out with like little stuff here and there. If I was like stuck on a part, I'd be like, "Hey, I don't know what to do with this fucking bridge. Anybody got ideas?" And like someone might throw something out, and then like it would work, and we'd figure it out. But you know that happened a couple of times here and there. And, uh, yeah, it's just been my project. It's my baby. I've been working on it for a while, and I've got a home recording rig, so I can just sit around and tweak my songs all day if I want to, and figure
That's
out
pretty
how songs
rad.
need to go. Yeah.
I didn't know you were such an excellent guitar player, man. Like that's incredible.
Oh,
That's
thanks,
awesome,
man. I mean,
dude.
that's my baby. I've been playing guitar since I was like 11 or 12. I'm gonna be 40 this year, so yeah, I've been playing guitar for a minute. And
I have.
I used to be really into AFI, like old school AFI, and like Pennywise too. I was really into like fast guitar riffs
I
and
love all
Nirvana
that shit.
also. So I was like really into like guitar riffs and like playing cool guitar riffs for like the longest time. And I started transitioning out of that when I needed to be a lead vocalist for my band. My vocalist quit, so I had to start singing. So like my
Oh
guitar playing
shit.
kind of got dumbed down a little bit, but like it's still like dumbed down, but not in like a bad sense. And I could still write leads on top of my rhythms and stuff because I have the ability to do that with.
That yeah, man. I love old AFI. That shit's awesome. Old AFI
Dude,
specifically, like past their fourth record, I'm like, I'm out, dude. I don't want to
oh man,
hear.
I loved AFI so much. I loved them all the way up till Sing the Sorrow. Uh, I even still love them. I don't listen to them anymore, but I love that they're a band that's not afraid to evolve and just they
I,
want to keep doing something different and they want to grow and they want to try different stuff. And I got mad respect for that because
what?
if you look at their first record compared to where they are now, like
Oh
that
yeah,
wasn't an overnight thing. They gradually changed into that, and I
yeah.
respect that and I appreciate that. And and Jade was like my absolute favorite, most favorite guitar player of all.
No shit. I was fixing to ask you about that. We'll get into that in just a second. I I absolutely respect them for what they do because I don't. You do whatever you want to do, man. As far as listening to it though, I can't listen to anything past probably The Art of Drowning, and I'm out after that.
Art of
It's just
Drowning
not.
was the best one for sure. I love that
Oh,
record.
see, so my favorite record by them is probably their first two, and then I'll flip a quarter. Like the first two records, and then flip a coin. But I like all the way up to Art of Drowning is an excellent album, and then after that, I just couldn't do it, man. And I don't want to crap on them. Those dudes are rad. I would love to meet those guys one day. Like it's just like a not really sonically for me thing. I don't
Sure.
listen to a lot of new wave stuff, so when they start going in that direction, I just don't care for it. I don't like the Smiths. I don't like the Cure. It's just not really music I've ever been interested in. I go more the folky route. I'm more Springsteen. I'll take Bob Dylan.
Yeah,
That's
I'm the
the
same.
direction. Yeah, and so I had a podcast episode where we were talking about guitar players, and I got a mountain of shit for some of the people that I picked. I picked because it was like a punk rock guitar player podcast, and I didn't really know what to say because I was like, man, I really always assumed that I liked guitar players a lot. And I don't guess that's the truth. I'm more into vocalists, and so my list was really hard for me to figure out. And I said, well, I guess it's not really punk, but like without this, we wouldn't have what we love. And I picked Chuck Berry and Brian Setzer as like two of my favorite guitar players. Now, admittedly, they're not punk rock guitar players, but Brian Setzer is very punk adjacent. But
Yeah.
yeah, my co-host absolutely hammered me for the Brian Setzer thing, and the people in the comments were just shitting on me for the Chuck Berry thing. Where do you stand on that? How do you feel about those guys? And then who are some of your favorite guitar players?
Well, I think you're definitely right. I mean, they play like, they have punk influence for sure, or they've influenced punk rock. At least Chuck Berry, man. I mean, that dude's rock and roll as fuck. Kidding me? Um,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I would not argue that at all. Um, as far as like my favorite guitar players, like Jade is one of them. I grew up like I grew up in the '90s, so like I was really into like that '90s epitaph punk rock. I listen to.
Yeah.
I like Rusty Pistachio from H2O. I like Fletcher from Pennywise. Pete Steinkopf, of course, from the Bouncing Souls.
Yep.
Kurt
The
Cobain
Pete.
was huge for me. I absolutely love Nirvana, and I also like. I mean, you know, this is a punk rock podcast, so I'll probably get flack for it. But I also really like. I was really into nu metal for a minute. I had a little phase,
Yeah.
so like I liked Korn and I liked Limp Bizkit for a minute, and so stuff like that, man. And then there's also like parents, like, or my mom at least, put like showed me rock and roll from an early age. So like I was listening to Guns N' Roses,
Nice.
stuff like that, 80s hair
So
metal.
CCR, bro. CCR is the one that my mom
CCR
showed
is
me.
like, if we're talking classic rock, they're probably my favorite classic rock band.
Yeah, me too, man. I unironically still like Limp Bizkit. I never did a new metal thing though. I didn't like Korn. I didn't like Marilyn Manson. I didn't like Slipknot. But for whatever reason, I identified. I think I just liked that they were obnoxious. Like specifically Fred Durst. I think I just liked that he was just like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Like I found that charming, and I was like, yeah, I kind of do the same thing. But and then now he's even like funnier in old age. He's like this weird, like I don't
know what he's doing, bro.
Bro, yeah. Have you seen? You know, he directed a movie with John Travolta in it.
No.
Yes, bro. It's the greatest fucking movie. It's called The Fanatic, dude. And the very first words in the movie spoken are John Travolta playing a handicapped person, and he's like stumbling around, and he just goes, "Oh, I gotta poo." And so, like, knowing that, and it's like a thriller, and it's got Devin Sawa from.
Oh, I know Devin Sawa. People
Yeah,
used to tell me I looked like him when I was growing up.
Oh, actually, dude, yeah, I can kind of see that actually, especially in like the eyes and then the smile. Yeah, for sure.
I had the hair too. Like I used to dress like Salt Lake City punk.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, SLC Punk is a major part of my life, dude.
Yeah. Don't ever watch the second one.
Oh no, I have seen that abomination, and it is terrible.
Awful.
All my friends are asking me if I'm going to the Horror Fest in Dallas. It's actually coming up in like 2 months, and I was like, no, I can't afford it right now. I'm doing some stuff for the label, and they were like, oh, okay, you know, Matthew Lillard's going to be there, and I was like, oh, like it crushed me, bro. I want him to sign, and they were like, oh, you want me to get your Scream signed for you? I was like, no, I want you to get SLC Punk signed for me. Like that's what I want signed.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, dude, I love that movie so much. It's so silly, but I love it. And Heroin Bob was somebody that I always liked that I could be like him until I, became a drug addict instead. Like it was just the worst fucking thing. But yeah, God damn it, that movie rules, dude.
Oh yeah, man, I haven't seen it in a while, but it is a great movie.
Dude, the second one having MGK in it is so kind of hilarious because it was years before he did this pop punk thing, and I kind of feel like it gives him a little bit of credibility. Like it's like, oh shit, I forgot he did that. Like that poor guy gets a mountain of shit from me, dude. I'll just leave him alone. Like
yeah,
oh dude, I hate that dude's music, dude. Like his rap is really good, but his pop punk crap that he does is just the absolute worst garbage I've ever heard. Yeah, it's terrible. Ugh, bro, so bad. I had some of those when I asked you too, and I forgot because we were talking about
I've never
MGK.
listened to him, so I don't know.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and don't. You'll be sad that you did. So, okay, Bouncing Souls, man. Okay, so you said Kilograms is the guy from Bouncing Souls in it?
It was the old drummer from Bouncing Souls, Mike.
Drummer?
Yeah.
Man, I met those dudes a couple of times. They were really nice. Pete was really cool. I met him a bunch. Like he was always one that was down to talk to the kids. When I was real young, I would go see them at Fitzgerald's in Houston, and he was always the one that was like, Greg's the singer's name, right? I think it is. Yeah, he was always real nice, but he was busy, man. He was like, I'm going to go. But Pete was always hanging out with everybody, so I got to talk to him a bunch of times.
Yeah,
like
Pete's great, man. It was awesome listening to Pete.
I would love to get that guy on the podcast. I might shoot an Instagram message and see if I can. No, you're good.
I'm getting a call.
Do you need to bounce out of here or what?
I kind of do, yeah.
All right, no worries, man. Hey,
unless we could put this on pause, we could pick it back up in a few minutes.
No, dude, it's all good. We can do these again another time, man. We did 45 minutes. It's all good. Take care of your business, man. Cool. When that record comes out, we're going to talk again. Dude, pick up the call. It's all right.
He's calling me.
No, take it.
Sorry, my bad. Thank you for having me, man. Yeah,
no worries.
I don't
dude,
need
life
to rush
happens,
off.
brother. Handle your business, man. We'll talk again soon. I'll talk to you on text later. And yeah.
Okay.
Peace.
Thank you so much. Catch you later.
Absolutely, Dylan. Later, brother.
Bye.